Hey everyone, good afternoon and welcome to this free online webinar from Manage Engine. So let me quickly introduce myself first. My name is Niyati and I am a product expert with Manage Engine's IT security solutions team. So today's webinar is going to be about network security. Okay, but it is not about the typical aspects of network security that we usually talk about, right? So usually when people talk about network security, the discussion immediately tends to shift to incident detection. People are concerned about how you can find attackers in your network. People want to know people want to know the latest advanced techniques available to find attacks occurring in your network. What are the latest analytical methods and tools and techniques available, right? But in today's webinar, we are choosing to concentrate on everything that comes after you've detected an incident in your network. Okay, so today's webinar is all about incident management and incident response and how you can deal with security incidents in a manner which is best for your organization and best for your business's confidential data. Okay, so before getting into things, a quick couple of notes. We will be sharing the recordings for this webinar via email, maybe in a couple of days or by early next week or so. And we will be handling questions towards the end of the session. We have a live chat option in the GoToWebinar console. So we will be handling questions via the chat option towards the end of this webinar once we're done with this presentation. And also, if anyone is facing any audio or video issues, please let us know using the chat once again. And if there are any technical glitches or on our end, if there's something we can do about that, we'll immediately look into fixing that for you. All right, so let's start the webinar. This is the agenda for today. So to start off, we'll talk about incident management first. Okay, so in fact, before going into incident management itself, I'd like to begin by defining what an incident itself is. So we'll do that, and then we'll go on to talk about the various stages that any security incident goes through. So that's the life cycle of a security incident. Okay, so we'll talk more about incident management and incident response. We'll bring incident response into the discussion at this point, and we will see how these fit into that entire security life cycle. Okay, and then we'll see what benefits your organization can get simply by improving your management and response processes. And finally, we'll talk about how you can use SIEM solutions, how SIEM solutions are the ideal choice for you to implement your incident detection, incident management, and overall incident response program. Okay, and we'll quickly also look at Log 360, which is Manage Engine's SIEM solution, and we'll look at all of its various incident management and response features. So like I said, before I explain what incident management is, I'd like to start by explaining what an incident is. Right? So to put it very simply, an incident is any event that could lead to the disruption of your organization's operations, services, or functions. So that's a pretty general definition, right? Even a power outage could be classified as an incident. But in today's webinar, we'll be concentrating on security incidents. So we'll be discussing security incidents, meaning any incident which could harm your organization's network security, right? So I'd like to draw your attention to this phrase over here. So incidents are events which could lead to a disruption, right? So it isn't a security incident only once you have a confirmed attack on your hands. So say it isn't an incident only after an attacker has stolen your data or after an attacker has brought down your critical servers. Right? Typically, you can get a security alert at any stage of a security attack. So The second you get an alert, that's the moment when you notice that there is some anomalous or suspicious activity happening in your network. And that's the moment when you realize that it could lead to or could point to signs of an attack ongoing in your network. So that's the moment when you have an incident on your hands. Okay, so keeping that definition in mind, now let's talk about what incident management is. So again, the most simple definition for incident management is this. Incident management is simply the set of processes employed by your organization to deal with a security incident, right? It's as simple as that. And these processes are basically carried out with a dual aim. One, return the business to normal as quickly and as smoothly as possible. And two, minimize the negative impact on your business caused by that incident. Okay. So now let's start looking at the overall life cycle of a security incident. What are the various stages that it goes through? So you can see here on the screen the basic stages that any security incident goes through. So you have incident detection, which is what starts the whole process off, of course, followed by incident analysis, the maintenance of business continuity, and finally incident response. And of course, you have incident management, which isn't exactly a part of the cycle, but it basically kicks in the second that an incident is detected. So right as soon as you have a security alert and a potential incident is detected, incident management kicks in, and it sort of occurs in parallel with all of these stages that I've listed here. So it's very closely linked to all of these stages. You can think of incident management as the process that you use to oversee all of these stages, right? So, okay, so you can see that I've listed a very neat, clean, straightforward cycle here, but the stages need not be exactly this sequential as I've shown here. So, for example, you may choose to take some initial response measures as soon as you detect a potential incident, right? So it may happen before the incident analysis stage. But overall, the order is something like what is shown over here on the slide. Okay, and if you wish to have a strong security strategy in place, you need to have well-defined solutions and processes in place for each of these stages. Okay, so now let's discuss each of these stages a little bit more in detail. So the first one, like I told you, is incident detection. Now, incident detection basically deals with how you identify anomalies or potential threats in your network. So you can use several methods to detect incidents, right? You may have your regular auditing process itself. So, you may schedule reports in areas that you wish to monitor closely, and you may so happen to notice that there is some anomalous activity happening on a specific day, and you may thereby realize that an incident is in place. You may realize that it could point to an attack. So even your regular auditing process is one of the methods used for incident detection. But apart from that, you may also, maybe set up alerts for anomalous behavior in your network. You may have correlation rules set up to identify attack patterns in your network. So all of these come under incident detection. And like I said, that is what kicks off this entire security cycle, right? So after that, you have incident analysis. Now, like I said some time back, an incident is something that could be harmful to your network, right? So incident analysis is that stage where you identify, whether it is or whether it isn't an actual threat to your network. So to do this, it could involve you reviewing the relevant incident reports. You may have to search through your network logs for the root cause of some problem. You may have to, I don't know, maybe construct a timeline of the event, right? Figure out the trail of events that led up to a specific incident. So all of these techniques come under incident analysis, right? So once you have identified that a specific incident poses a threat to your network, you need to take steps to ensure that your business continues as normal while you handle that incident, right? So this stage is actually the first level of response for any incident. So for example, you may have to quarantine infected systems. You may have to modify the permissions of certain users or certain devices which you suspect to be infected. Or basically, you need to take any other necessary steps before you launch the other corrective measures for a particular incident. Right? In fact, you may choose to take these steps even before you choose to start investigating the incident. Right? Like I told you, the initial level of response may come before the incident analysis stage itself. And if you're really smart, you will choose to automate these responses as well, because they tend to be, all of these measures that I spoke about, they tend to be pretty repetitive in nature. So by automating them, you can save a whole lot of time and effort for your security team. Finally, you have to take actual remedial measures to mitigate the negative impact of any incident. So if you detect there is an intruder in your network, you need to take steps to block them from the network. You need to take steps to remove them and block them from future access to the network. Or if you detect that an incident was maybe caused by a particular vulnerability, you need to apply the necessary patch for it, right? You need to go over to the specific device vendor. You need to find out if there is a patch available for that vulnerability. You need to download and apply it, right? Or maybe you discover that an intruder was able to get into your network through a firewall, maybe. You then need to go over and review the firewall settings. You need to reconfigure its rules so that such an incident does not happen again. So automation can be your friend in this stage as well. Certain incident types may have very standard response measures like this. So you can automate those responses as well and contain any further damage from happening. And finally, so you can see here that I have a loop shown over here, right? There is a feedback loop from the incident response stage to incident detection as well. So you may be wondering why that is, right? Doesn't it stop with the incident response? Once you finish resolving an incident, doesn't it stop there? Well, no, actually, there is actually a feedback process involved as well, right? So you need to use all the information that you have discovered through this entire process here. You need to use that information and feed it back into your incident detection process and make it stronger, right? So you may realize that you need a new kind of alert or a new correlation rule maybe to help you detect similar incidents even more quickly in the future, right? So each time you finish dealing with an incident, you definitely need to take any necessary steps possible to strengthen your overall incident detection process as well. So that's where the cycle comes in, and that's where you start strengthening your network security processes over time. All right, so I've told you how incident management and automated incident response fit into the overall security cycle. But how exactly does improving it benefit you? Right? Why is it exactly that you need to ensure that all of these processes are streamlined, and why do you need to invest your efforts in improving them? I mean, isn't it enough to have a really solid incident detection system in place? I mean, why do you need to take that effort to plan out your responses beforehand? I mean, if you have maybe 100 alerts set up, you aren't actually going to receive all of those alerts, right? You may receive only a few. So why do you need to invest so much effort in planning them beforehand? Can't you just figure it out as you go along? Well, obviously, if you ask me, you can guess my answer. My answer to this question is a big, huge no, right? You need to invest that effort in your incident management and response processes. When you take that effort to improve incident management, when you take the effort to plan out automated responses beforehand for various kinds of alerts, you will be able to make your security processes extremely efficient, which will help you on several levels. So we just discussed some time back, right? The dual aim of incident management is to restore your business to normal while simultaneously minimizing the negative impacts on your business. Now, this means that you need to be able to handle your security incidents so smoothly that your organization systems or your employees' work don't get affected. So when you improve your management and response processes, you can do a lot of things, and so you can get a whole lot of benefits that I've listed here. Some of the points are obviously pretty similar for both, so let's just discuss all of these benefits a little bit more, right? So first off, you can analyze and resolve your incidents much quicker. Right now, time is a very important factor with security. It's all about how quickly you can detect an incident and how quickly you can respond to it. Right. So time is a very critical factor here. So let's take a quick example. Okay, let's consider a small organization which may not have a dedicated help desk system in place. Now, what do these guys do when they have a security incident on their hands? Okay, so the administrator in such an organization may receive an alert. One fine day he may receive an alert which notifies him that a particular security incident may be ongoing in his network. So, what does he do after that? So, he is probably going to do some very initial checks, and then he is going to maybe assign the responsibility for that incident to a specific operator or specific technician in his organization. So he does that by sending over an email to this person. He needs to craft that email on his own. He needs to include certain incident details, and he needs to tell this person, you know what, check it out and see if there's something going on, right? And after that, you have no idea when the person is going to get to that email. The administrator may have to manually go over to the person, discuss things, find out what's happening. There's not going to be any easy communication that's happening here. It's going to involve a whole lot of effort. And you can see how chaotic this is, right? Because obviously there's not going to be just one alert ongoing in an organization at any time. There's typically going to be quite a handful of incidents to look into. So for an administrator, it's going to be pretty confusing to keep track of everything if there is no dedicated system available. Right, and it's going to take a whole lot of time. It's going to cause a whole lot of confusion to end up before you can end up resolving an incident. And during all of this time, an attacker might actually be able to progress further within your network, right? They may be able to retrieve larger amounts of sensitive data. Basically, they can cause a whole lot more damage. And that's not something that anyone wants. So that's why you see how important it is to resolve things quickly. And you can do that with a dedicated incident management system. Why? So a dedicated incident management system. So you saw all the problems that I talked about in the example just now, right? So with a dedicated incident management system, you can solve a whole lot of issues. So it helps you, maintain a chain of accountability for any incident. It facilitates easier communication about an incident. It allows an administrator to stay on top of all the incidents that are happening in his network, and basically ensure that he knows what is happening with any given incident at any given time. So that's why an incident management system saves you a whole lot of time. And similarly, when you use automated responses, you can contain any further damage from happening as well. And you can, save a whole lot of manual effort because you're using automated responses. You don't have to manually take the effort to launch all those response measures. You're going to be cutting down on a lot of time there as well. And of course, we also know that time is money, right? So when you spend lesser time to resolve incidents, the damage caused is lesser. And the amount of organizational resources needed to mitigate the damage is lesser. And also, you may have to, pay up a certain amount of fines because of compliance violations and the like. So the amount of fines that you may have to pay will reduce as well. So ultimately, if you invest in improving your incident management and incident response processes, you'd be saving a huge amount of costs, in all of these future costs like the compliance violations and the like. So all of this obviously benefits you in the long run. Next, if your incident management processes are good enough, you're going to have good documentation along the way. So when I say documentation, I mean, the relevant incident reports, the relevant forensic reports. You may conduct an investigation and you need a record of all the things that you discover. So you need to be able to save and document all your forensic investigations as well. You need to document all the steps that were taken in the process of investigating an incident. So you need to maintain documentation for this as well. So, if you have good documentation for all of these things, you will have the proof needed to show your auditors that you took all the necessary steps to detect, analyze, and resolve your incidents. You can prove that due process was followed, and you can, ensure that you are compliant in that way. And so obviously, when you follow such a methodical process to investigate and respond to an incident, you can show that you're on top of things, which goes a long way in retaining your customers' trust in you. So, I mean, obviously, when your organization faces a security incident, none of your customers or stakeholders are going to be too happy about it, right? But as compared to an organization which isn't even able to tell its customers what went wrong, what data was breached, if an organization isn't even able to give this basic information to the potential victims of an attack, it's obviously going to reflect very badly on your organization. But if you follow all of this due process that I just described, and you're able to show your customers that you are on top of things, it obviously helps, sort of contain the damage and helps, maintain their trust in you. And finally, when you automate all of these mundane response measures, you are also ensuring that your security personnel aren't wasting their time on repetitive tasks, right? So this ensures employee satisfaction as well, not just customer satisfaction, but employee satisfaction as well. So instead of spending their time on these repetitive tasks, they can instead work on more challenging security problems and potentially add a whole lot more value to your organization, right? So this is why it is really important for you to invest in incident management and incident response. Now, how is it that you can actually implement all of these different things that we have spoken about? So to actually get all of these things going, you can use SIEM solutions. SIEM tools are pretty much the most ideal solutions available to you to improve your overall security processes. Now, SIEM, as most of you may be knowing, is basically security information and event management. But many people tend to have this misconception that SIEM is just for detecting security incidents in your network. It's only for the detection part, but that's not true. It actually goes way beyond that. It helps you analyze your incidents, manage, respond to them, right? So it provides all of those benefits that we just spoke about in the last slide. So how do SIEM solutions help you do this? Okay, so these are some of the features that it provides you with, that they provide you with. So for one, SIEM solutions help you build custom workflows which execute automatically when any incident is detected. So in that way, it helps you realize all of those benefits of automation that we just spoke about. And on the incident management side, it helps you conduct in-depth analyses of your incidents. It helps you save the results of all your investigations, and thereby helps you comply better with regulations, because like I said, you can prove that you took all necessary steps in investigating your incidents. And it also helps you track the accountability for any incident. So I told you, right, an administrator can basically use one central console to assign responsibility for an incident and track its status throughout the entire incident life cycle. At any given point, he's able to find out what the status of an incident is, what is being done to solve it, and things like that. So, right, so that was our discussion on incident management and response. Now, I would like to very quickly show you how Manage Engine SIEM solution Log 360 helps you by providing all of these features that we just spoke about, right? So I'm just going to give you a very quick look at our product. So this is Log 360, and the entire incident management module and the incident response features are provided by the event log analyzer component of Log 360. So I'm going to give you a quick look at how this entire flow would work, right? So to start off, you always, when you have a security tool in place, you will start off deploying it by setting up several security alerts, right? So let's just go through that flow and show you where the response measures come in, right? So let's take a quick incident. So this is me. I'm going to set up an alert now, and so let's take an example. Okay, so let's say in your network, you have a certain set of sensitive servers, and you would like to ensure that no one uses a USB device on any of these devices, on any of these servers, right? So, okay, you may have a blocked access to these systems, of course, but just in case you do want to set up an alert to be notified when when a USB device is plugged into these certain sensitive servers, okay? So how I do this is I select the alert type. So I'm going to say USB plugged in. So I want to know when a USB device is plugged into a certain set of devices that I am very concerned about, right? So just going to choose a few devices here. These are the devices I'm concerned about. So that's my alert setup over here. So basically, I'm going to be the first to know when a USB device is plugged in to these devices here. But obviously, it's not enough for me to just know about it immediately, right? This is a pretty crucial event, and even if I get notified about it immediately, I may not be in a position to manually quickly go over and check that a USB device is not used on that system. I can't immediately kick the person out of the system. I can't. I may not be in a position to do it immediately, right? And in all of that time, the person may be able to get away with certain sensitive data. So I don't want this happening. So I'm going to set up a workflow over here. So this is an automated response, which basically helps me ensure that certain response measures kick in immediately, automatically, when this event is detected. So that helps me ensure that my data stays protected, right? So I can just click on enable workflow, and you can see over here that Log 360 provides a certain set of predefined workflows which are available to you. So I'm going to choose block USB, right? So that's pretty much it. So this is already available within the product. So I don't need to actually define that workflow separately. It's already available as a predefined workflow. So I'm just going to select it over here. And now you can see this entire setup. So, when this event occurs, this workflow is going to automatically kick in and block the USB port on that device and secure my sensitive data. So it's very easy for me to ensure that this entire flow is set up and running in my network. Okay, and also you can also assign this responsibility for this incident to a particular user who can then come over and check the status of the workflow. But we'll get to that in a couple of minutes. Okay, so this example that I gave you used a predefined workflow. But you don't have to stick to these predefined workflows. You can also create your own, right? So I'm going to show you how that works as well. So Like I said, you can also track the status of a workflow, right? It isn't just about launching a response measure and leaving it at that. You also want to know whether the workflow executed successfully. You need to know a breakdown of the various steps in the workflow. You need to ensure that things happened as they were supposed to. So you can use this manage workflow page. You can go over to the view history icon, which opens up a timeline view telling you exactly what went down in a workflow execution, and you can ensure that everything happened as it was supposed to. Right, so these are the predefined workflows available in the product, but like I said, you can also create your own. So to do that, you can just go over to this create workflow button, and this is the very easy and simple to use workflow builder. So are basically a set of steps that need to execute in response to an alert, right? So you can see all of the steps available to you on this left menu over here. So you may want to ping a device, you may want to start a particular process, right? So you have a whole lot of options available, and you can see. So there's the disable USB action that we were just speaking about, right? So you have a whole lot of actions available over here, and all you have to do to build a workflow is just select a particular action and drag and drop it onto this pane over here. And for each action, you may need to specify a few extra details. So you can see the details needed for the log off action over here. And you just need to specify all of these details that it asks you for, and click on OK, and you have the first step in your workflow. Now, like I said, it's a series of steps, right? You don't need to stop with just one action. You can obviously select any of the various actions available to you over here, and you can create a series of steps as well. And it doesn't have to be a single sequential series as well. You can also use decision flows, right? So you can go over to this logic menu over here, and you can create a decision flow at this point. So basically you're telling it, if the log off action is successful, I need to do this, but if it fails, I need to do this, right? So it gives you a whole lot of flexibility to create very well defined workflows. You can define the entire flow of actions, and you can even use these decision blocks to sort of make things more granular and more specific. And you can even use the time delay blocks. So you may want to wait a few minutes before proceeding to the next actions, right? So you can do that as well. You can say, what, wait for like a minute, wait for 2 minutes before proceeding to the next steps. So you have a whole lot of flexible options available to you to build extremely specific workflows as per your organization's requirements. All right, so all of this was the incident response part of things. Now let's talk about incident management. All right, so now let's go over to the incident management aspect of things. So you want to get an overview of all the incidents happening in your network, right? So you can go over to the alerts menu, alerts tab of the product, and this page basically gives an administrator a complete bird's eye view of all the security incidents happening in the network at any given time. And you can see over here on the left menu, there are several views available as well. So you can either view all of the alerts, or if the administrator wants to track the status of all the alerts that have already been assigned, he can go over to the assigned alerts view. If he wants to know if any specific alerts have not been assigned yet, he can just filter it using this view over here, and he can then manually assign an incident to the relevant technician. And if he wants to know the status of certain high priority alerts, he can just filter that using this view over here. And of course, for when it comes to the various operators or other users of the product, they can just they can just log in using their credentials to the product, and they just need to go over to my alerts to know the various alerts that have been assigned to them, and they can immediately start investigating a particular incident, right? And of course, if you want to filter the incidents based on the type of alert, based on the type of incident, you can do that as well using these filters over here. All right, so that is how you find the alerts that you need. But then now let's talk about how you can assign and track the status of a particular incident, right? So first, let's talk about how you can do that manually. Now, suppose I'm the administrator, I want to assign this particular incident here. It's not been assigned yet. So all I need to do is just very easily click on the update button for a particular incident and just very simply use this drop down to assign the incident to the relevant technician, right? And as soon as I do that, this incident shows up on that person's login screen. So when they log in, they're able to see that a new incident has been assigned to them and they can immediately start investigating it. And as they go about investigating it, they can very easily update the status of the incident. So at any given time, the administrator is able to know what the status of a particular incident is, whether it's still in progress or whether it's been closed. And at the same time, the technician can also use the notes feature to include any relevant information about the incident. If they found out any specific interesting information, they can update it here. If they want to document what steps they took in investigating an incident, they can document that here again. So like I said, this helps you maintain really good documentation for each incident of yours. And that's very helpful from a compliance point of view. But also, when this type of incident happens again in the future, it's very simple. Things become much more simple for you because you can just go over to this previous occurrence of the incident and you can find out exactly what happened the last time. And that makes investigating future occurrences of the incident much more simple, right? So that's how you can use this built-in incident management module to track the status of all the incidents happening in your network at any given time. So like I said, all of these, I showed you how the administrator could manually assign the incident, right? It's also possible to do this automatically. So the administrator, so like I said, you may have hundreds of alerts and it may actually take a lot of effort to assign them manually. But you don't need to do that. You can also create rules to assign responsibility for an incident automatically, right? So all you have to do is go over to the assign rules page, click on add rule, and it's very simple after this, right? So you can create a rule stating that when this particular device or when this particular device group triggers an alert, I'd like to assign it to a specific user. And also if it's a specific type of incident, you don't want it to be based on the specific device, but you want it to be based on the type of incident. So you can also say when the alert profile equals so and so, assign it to this particular user, right? So you can create rules over here. You can also include more than one condition as well and relate them as you would like. So in this way, you can create highly flexible rules. You can even prioritize the rules as you would like. So in this way, all of the hundreds of alerts that you receive get assigned to the relevant technician immediately, and they can immediately start looking into the incidents, right? So this also saves a whole lot of time and effort for your security team. Now, all of these were the built-in incident management features, right? It's for people who don't have a dedicated help desk system in place. They can always use these built-in features. But many organizations may be using help desk software already, right? They may be using third-party help desk software. So Log 360 also helps you by allowing you to forward security incidents to these external help desks, right? So Log 360 supports several external help desk software. You can see here, so this is a specific Service Desk Plus server that's been configured. I can choose which types of incidents I would like to forward to the Service Desk Plus server. Right, but it's not just Service Desk Plus. You can see here the entire list of third-party help desk software. You can see most of the prominent ones over here. Log360 supports all of these, and you can very easily configure any of these help desk software, and you can ensure that your security incidents, which are detected by Log360, are very smoothly and very efficiently transmitted to these external help desk software as well. All right, so that was an overall look at Log360's incident management and incident response features. So that brings us to the end of today's session. So if you have any questions, please ask us using the live chat option. But also at the same time, we have a couple of quick poll questions, which we would really love if you could answer for us. So I'm going to share them now. You'll be seeing them on your GoToWebinar consoles. So it'll be really helpful to us if you could answer these questions for us. And at the same time, if you have any questions, we are handling them now using the live chat option.